welcome to the Memoir channel. Today I'm speaking with Christine Skarbek about her memoir, Confronting Power and Chaos, the uncharted kaleidoscope of my life. Sounds pretty interesting to me, so I'm curious to know more, so let's welcome Christine. Will you just say your surname in case I'm pronouncing it horribly wrong?
Well, there's an American pronunciation and then there's the Polish pronunciation.
Of course there is.
So here in the States, it's Skarbek.
Skarbek.
Yeah, and in Poland it's Skarbek.
So you have to roll the R a little
Oh,
bit.
Lordy, yes,
Skarbek.
absolutely. Yeah. If you don't roll that R, you give yourself away every single time.
Do you speak Polish?
I wish I did, but I've learned a whole lot more than I was when I was growing up. My father was born and raised in Chicago, and he grew up speaking Polish very fluently. He didn't speak any English at all until he got into high school.
Wow.
And he went off to World War II and married my mother, and we moved to a town where no other language is gonna ever be spoken except for English.
Okay.
And so I got to know exactly one word of Polish, and that was kielbasa.
And what does that mean?
Kielbasa is sausage. It's the Polish sausage.
Oh, sausage. Fantastic. I don't think you need any other word. I think that's the only one you
absolutely. It's completely universal, man.
Yeah. All right. So I'm just going to start off with the first question, which is, why did you write this memoir? What was it that kind of made you go, I need to start writing this story down?
Well, actually, it was my association with my dear friend over in Poland, Dominik Retinger. And he's a screenwriter and a novelist. And I was translating his screenplays and his novels into English. And I ran out of things to do. And I kept pestering the poor man. And I said, give me something. I want to do something. Please don't make me stand here and just twiddle my thumbs. And he says, I have nothing. I'm busy. Leave me alone. Get out of my hair. And I have no hair. So get out of my hair. I said,
get off my bald head.
Yeah, get off my bald head.
Yes.
And go. I know what you can do. Write your memoir. You have led a fascinating life. People will want to know what you've been able to do. And I'm going, they do?
Well,
really?
That is quite amazing. So
Yes.
This whole memoir exists because with his name Dominik, he encouraged you to do that.
Yes,
well, good for him.
Yes, it's all his fault.
And has he read it? What was his what did he say about this?
Oh, well, I would send him pieces where he actually is the major player. The last third of the book is all in me in Poland and coming back here to the United States and finding out what I was finding out as things progressed. But I was 12 years there, and so I would send him pieces of it, and he was too busy to read it. He'd shrug it off, no big deal, I don't care, whatever. And then finally I got it published, and he started reading it, and he said, "Did I really say that?" And I said, yes, Dominik, you really said that. And he said, this is so well written.
Oh, fantastic. Good.
He really is going bananas over it. And I will tell you more if you want to hear more. But yeah, that's a long answer to a very short question. And I
think that's a fairly unique answer, because I imagine most people don't write a memoir because someone else tells them to. But I kind of like that.
Yeah, well,
he gave you this suggestion and put it in your head, and then he kind of birthed the idea for you, which is great.
Yes,
and you trusted him enough.
Yeah,
and I love it. And so I know you have this famous relative, and I know that's kind of part of the theme of the book, but what would you say is the main theme of your story? Like, what's the meat of it?
Well, the meat of it is how the impact of this woman upon me led me to understand that you have to take life by the horns, even if it decides to throw hurdles in your way keep things from happening for you and your children. And this is a term that escaped me for a while, but I was talking to a fellow in my memoir writing group that we have here in Silver Spring, and he says, it's noblesse oblige. And I said, yes, that
Now, I
is
haven't heard
it.
that.
Yeah. Okay. You don't know what noblesse oblige is?
Noblesse oblige. No, I do not know.
No.
I don't know what
Okay.
language it is.
Okay, it's French. All
Ah,
right.
ah oui. Bon.
Oui. But the deal is, if you find nobility in your soul, you will know that you can conquer with grace and
Oh, that's very
finesse.
lovely.
Yes, and it's giving back. I mean, this is. I mean, I'm going to jump ahead and answer one of your other questions for you.
Okay.
But this is what I want people to take away from it. And Dominique is trying to get it translated into Polish so it can have a Polish market as well.
Okay.
Because people in Poland and people in the United States, they have to understand that they don't have to run off and do nasty things and grab a gun and do stupid things. I mean, Poland, they don't have guns. In America, they do. And we do. I'm responsible for that too.
Yeah.
But you don't have to grab a gun in order to achieve the goal that you need to achieve.
Let me step back a minute here, because if someone's just listening, they won't actually know who the person is. And I know she has the same name as you, right?
Yes, it's
so
Christine.
Maybe you could explain a bit about her.
I would love to. I love this woman. I love this woman, heart and soul. She is a countess, but she's also half Jewish. And she's the only woman, or man for that matter, who distinguished him or herself on both the Eastern and the Western Front during World War II. She took escaping Polish pilots out of occupied Poland, got them across the Tatra Mountains into Budapest, where her lover made sure that they got out the rest of the way down to Cairo, and then those pilots became the backbone of the British attempt to stymie the Battle of Britain during World War II. So yeah, and that's what she did on that front.
And she was Polish by birth. Yes,
by birth.
Okay.
Yes, very Polish by birth.
So is she quite celebrated in Poland? I mean,
no.
People
know about her, but you know, she worked for the British,
right?
And she became part of the SOE. And actually, I guess she was part of the SOE while she was there in Budapest and Poland, getting those pilots out, because she had very good contacts with the British ambassador, O'Malley, and just a marvelous collaboration between the two. And yeah, she had to escape eventually because the Germans were taking over Hungary. Hungary couldn't withstand their propaganda, their constant interference. And so that government sort of just fell by the wayside, and Germany came in, and so she had to get out, and she got down to Cairo, and it was a long hiatus. There's a lot going on that I don't want to get into because it deflects from all of this, but she ended up being parachuted into southern France shortly after D-Day, just within a couple of days of D-Day. And what she was able to do there in Vichy-occupied, non-occupied France was just astounding. She saved thousands of men's lives, among them her own boss, who was British, and 2 other Brits as well. She walked into a prison that was being run supposedly by the French, but the SS were in the background. And she talked those Frenchmen into releasing her boss and the two Brits. And yeah.
So this is quite a very brave, sounds like a very brave woman.
Oh, totally.
Quite
She was
remarkable.
quite remarkable. Just
Yeah.
totally
So I can see
wonderful
why
person.
you would, hold her so dear to your heart, especially if she's your namesake and,
Yeah.
you have a, but I mean, I kind of Googled a little bit about her and
Yeah.
I saw that she came to quite a sad end.
Yes.
And I mean, what it says, you tell me because I just seen what I read on Wikipedia, but maybe it's a
Well,
different.
she fell on hard times after World War II. She couldn't go back to Poland because it was Soviet occupied by that time. And nobody wanted to hire a non-Brit in the UK at that period of time. She did have a British passport, so she had wanderlust, and she got a job as a stewardess on several cruise ships. So she went from being a countess to being a servant,
Yeah.
and there her boss became infatuated with her, and he murdered her. He stabbed her in the heart
That's what I read.
in a London hotel.
I mean,
the night before she was to get back with her lover.
I mean, it's infuriating to think
Yeah.
of such a brave human being, being taken out for such a silly, like a stunted emotional growth of a male just killing her because he doesn't get his way.
Yes, it
It's
was
very, very
pathetic.
annoying. It is.
Totally
It's a very sad end for
pathetic.
her. She deserved a much better way to go out.
Oh God, yes, absolutely, yes.
Anyway, but your book isn't really about her. It's about you, right?
It's about me.
And it's maybe there's some parallels in your story.
A lot of parallels, actually, as it turns out.
I can tell that obviously you've taken, like you said, you learned from her to take life by the horns and just go for it and not give up and jump over those hurdles. And so let me ask you this next question. How long did it take you to write your book?
Oh, golly gravy. Well, the beginning of the book.
Did you say golly gravy?
Yes, I said golly gravy. Okay. I started my book, it was 2014. And so I worked on it off and on. But see, the problem is I was writing everybody back home these, what I called roving reporter reports. And so since they were very, very pertinent to the story, I just picked them up and slopped them down where they belonged inside the book. And so you can say I started way before 2014, but it took me, I don't know, 3 years, 4 years.
That sounds
really writing at that point in time.
That sounds about right. I mean, I think that's kind of the general, I think that most people take a few years to write something. Yeah.
It's not a fast process at all.
No. And then do you like to write alone in quiet? Do you like to have music playing? Do you want to be out in a cafe somewhere so there's movement? Like, what's your preference for writing?
Well, I wrote this in quiet, only because I had no radio. And I'm distracted when I start listening to music. It just thrills me, so I go off and
then you follow the music.
Yes, and I'm singing along. I'm not writing anymore. So I do need the quiet. Yes.
And then how did you publish? I think you had an actual publisher, right? Is it a hybrid publisher?
It's a hybrid publisher. It's a British publisher.
A British company?
Yeah, Austin Macaulay. They're there in London and in Cambridge.
Oh,
but they do have
very proper, doesn't it? Yes,
it does. But they are also in New York City, so I deal with those people. Yeah.
And now that you've done it with them, are you happy? Did you think you made the right choice by going with them?
Oh, well, yes, only for me though. I mean, okay, the 19th was my birthday.
Of December.
Of December. Okay.
Happy birthday.
Well, thank you very much. But I just turned 29.
Oh, well done.
Again, for the 45th time. I'm 29 again. So, Because they tell me that I'm probably not going to live to 150. I thought that that finding a publisher was a very important thing, and
Mhm.
especially, I mean, I will say I do talk about this in the book too, is Ukraine and Poland, and what's going on there
Mhm.
breaks my heart, and I couldn't just shelve this and say I'm going to wait for the
Because
right
it's
publisher.
timely material. It needs
It
to be
is.
now. Right, right,
It
right.
needs to be now. It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, when I was writing the ending a year ago, November was when I was writing the ending. I'm saying to myself, you know, in a year's time, all of this will be dated material.
Well,
Things will have moved on.
I mean,
So
it's
yeah,
true
yeah,
with most memoirs because you're writing about a specific time and place,
yes.
and it quickly changes, you
Well,
know?
especially when it's a political and a war
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts that I cannot control.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, what is your favorite part in your book, or even is there a favorite line that you have?
Oh no, I couldn't possibly
No.
find a favorite line. However, the favorite part for me personally was I lined up Dominique. He had been writing a World War II story and he couldn't find a producer there in Poland for it. And I said, well, let me fly this by my entertainment lawyer in Hollywood and see what Jay says, what
Mhm.
possibilities. And
Mhm.
so I sent it off to him, and Jay took a few days, and he came back. No, there's no hope for this, insofar as I can tell. And then I turned around. Of course, I had to give the bad news to Dominique. And later that night, at 3 o'clock in the morning, he texts me. They call it SMSs over
Uh-huh.
there. He texts me, I know what to do. We'll make it a 3-generation story, and her granddaughter will look just like her, only she's in New York, and she has to go find out about her grandmother.
Aha.
And I said, okay, let me fly this by Jay. And Jay, oh, this is very exciting. This is a new framework. We can do this. This is great. And so for the next 6 weeks, I got to watch these two men back and forth. And I kept, I kept playing the intermediary, and I'm going, Dominique, be patient. Okay, you have to. I mean, but the creative process. I got a front
Mhm.
row seat to the creative process, and it's relayed all in the book. It takes about 3 pages or so, but to me, that was thrilling to
Oh, good.
watch
Yes.
that thing come to life. That was
Right.
absolutely tops.
Is there a part that you might want to read for us?
Oh, well, yes, as a matter of
Okay.
fact.
All right.
Now, this goes back a long ways. Let me see. I'm going to have to get a drink of water first.
Okay.
Excuse me.
I'll cheers you. I have a drink here too.
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. Cheers. Absolutely. So, I
All
think
right.
this is pertinent to both ends of the tale, so to speak, both the Krystyna part and what I was having to go through. Now, this takes place in April of 1990. I'm 40 years old. 29.
29.
Yeah, 29. Okay. I have 4 chronically ill children. My marriage is looking increasingly grim. My husband has just beaten my eldest daughter.
Oh,
I rescued her and took all the children to school. After dropping them off, I'm sitting in the car. As I dropped them off, I admitted to myself the last thing I wanted to do was return home to a waiting Richard. Best to put a little distance between us, but where could I go? For weeks, I had been troubled by an incident that had occurred as I was leaving the UK. For the first time in my life, I was strip searched. Standing there in Heathrow Airport more than a decade before 9/11, I couldn't figure out what the passport check triggered that set off an alarm on the passport controller's screen. There was nothing in my background that had ever set off such a reaction before when I had traveled to Europe. And there was more. Just before I offered the border control agent my passport, I heard a voice. Don't go. I spun around. There was no one there. Gwen stood beside me, but it wasn't her voice I was hearing. Don't get on the plane. Stay here. Now, I don't go in for the hearing voices and thing, and was more than slightly puzzled. What? Gwen, did you hear that? Hear what? Was her response. I handed the agent my passport, and the whole strip search episode started. All the while, the voice kept saying, you must stay here. Do not get on the plane. It was more than a little spooky. I always considered myself more grounded than most. Being a pragmatic journalist, I didn't go in for the movie thing of, if you build it, they will come. Thank you, Field of Dreams. That movie, of course, had just come out the year before, but I hadn't seen it yet. As an overworked mom, I didn't know what was playing in the theaters. It wasn't until years later, when it came out on VCR tape, that I watched it with my kids. Yet that voice in that airport terminal was undeniable. You must stay here. Do not get on that plane. Of course, I did, and returned to the United States. But the event haunted me. The voice was neither male nor female. It was just irrefutable, forceful, but kind, persistent. My kaleidoscope was making a radical shift. Sitting now in my car, it was as if I could hear that voice again. Hearing voices was something for a tale told around a campfire with impressionable kids, not for a mature mother of 4. But I couldn't shake off the realness of it there in Heathrow, or now in that car. The image of that man in the roadster on the drive to Dachau appeared before me. The way he talked so poignantly about the other Christine Skarbek, the resistance courier, swept over me. What were the chances that England wanted to track me more closely and had placed a red flag on her/my name? Who was this Christine Skarbek? And who was that man in that roadster so long ago in Dachau? From what I can remember of the yellowed newspaper article my grandfather had shown me as a teen, the woman labeled a spy had been killed by a rejected lover. What was the truth of it all? The university library would have bound copies of Time, Newsweek, and Life dating back to 1952, when the woman was murdered. Time to make a trip to the library, I murmured to myself. I drove the old Mercury around to the facility and found the bound magazine stacks without a hitch. I pulled out both halves of 1952's Time and Life magazines. It only took a matter of moments to open to the article's spreads. The woman's image in the blown-up photo of the first article's opening page made me catch my breath. It was nothing I had ever experienced before. This Christine's face was an open book, nothing in any way clandestine. Every thought and motivation traced across the smiling countenance. There was nothing surreptitious or underhanded about this spy. The journalist in me had never met anyone as unreserved as that woman who I was staring at in the picture. What was even more, I didn't need to read the article to know instinctively what the woman had done and the reasons she had done it. Nonetheless, I did read the women's exploits. Nothing in those paragraphs surprised me. Do you want me to go on?
Nope, I think that's a good amount.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. That's the beginning of my journey, finding out. Yeah. I was very, very lucky because inasmuch as Ange had died the year before, I was able to track down just an awful lot of her wartime associates, and they
Mm-hmm.
talked to me.
Mm-hmm.
They talked to me.
No, that's
Yes.
great.
Yeah, it was great.
So it's like doing like a little detective work on your own sort of family history. It's great. I like it.
And what I had to kind of do, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I set myself a goal, and
So
I ended up writing a screenplay, and
I was
that's what got me.
just gonna ask you, because one of the questions I wanted to ask was if they were to make a movie out of your book, out of your memoir, who would you want to play you?
No, I don't know. I couldn't
No
begin to
choice.
guess. I don't know. I thought when I read that question, I thought Meryl Streep, Kate Blanchett.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, I think those both sound like good choices, actually.
Yeah, I don't know. But I will say that there is a screenplay now,
Mm-hmm.
and it took me more than a few years to get Dominique to help me write that screenplay, and it is now being considered out in Hollywood.
So they're busy shopping it now.
Yeah, we're shopping
Good,
it now.
good
Yeah,
luck.
it's
Good luck.
absolutely lovely.
Good. I mean, is there another film with the original Christine Skarbek? Is there anything about her? I mean, I know there's a book, right?
There's been a couple of books. Yeah.
Mhm.
I read Madeleine Masson's book. She wrote it and published it in 1976. 76, yeah. I have not read Claire Mully's book. No, I will not read Claire Mully's
But
book.
there's no film or anything that's anything to do with it,
Insofar as
even alluded to it.
well, no. I mean, her story, I mean, what was written on those pages of the magazine articles, that's public knowledge.
Right.
So anybody, I mean, I know various British directors slash producers have played with her story a little bit, but they've given it somebody else's name, or they
Right.
tweaked it here or tweaked it
Right.
there and made it into fiction. But this thing that we've got going on right now out in Hollywood is an actual biopic, because the men who talked to me back in 1990, that Christine is in that screenplay. What they were able to share with me about her personality, yeah.
Oh, well, it sounds fascinating. I hope
Cool.
it gets picked up. I hope someone makes this.
Well,
Be great.
our producer has a way of getting the pitch in, I guess. She's pitching it as the reverse Casablanca, because it is not the man who goes to war, it's the woman.
Oh, I like that. A reverse Casablanca. That's a good pitch line.
Ah,
yeah.
We're trying. We're very, very excited.
Okay, and another question was, who is one of your favorite memoirists, or what's one of the favorite memoirs that you've read?
Well, I think you asked for two books. I don't have two.
One is fine.
Yeah. Well, both of Michelle Obama's books are absolutely top notch. I just ate those up with a spoon. I just love them. Yeah.
Okay. Well, and okay, so I can see we're sort of coming to the end here. So I'm just going to ask, what else was I going to say? I was going to say, oh yeah, what advice would you have for someone that was thinking of writing a memoir?
I don't know. You have to cloister yourself. You have to become very, very focused.
Yeah.
I was very lucky. I was extraordinarily lucky. I wrote everything, and I'm just going to throw it all in there, and whatever it is, and whatever. And I sent it off to a friend whom I'm not even met yet. She's up in Canada, and had her read it. And I said to her, okay, if there's one image or one something that you could grab hold of that would sum up the book, what would it be? And she said, your life has been a kaleidoscope. And I'm going,
that's where you got the
I love that. That's where I got that. Yeah. I'm not responsible for that. So I just sprinkled kaleidoscopes all throughout.
But it's lovely because it is. I mean, you think of that beautiful patterns that it makes. No matter which way you twist and turn, you come up with something lovely. And every time, a nice analogy, a really nice analogy.
So, but I would recommend, either either having a vision as to what your life really sifts down to, the essence of it, or throwing everything into it and then have somebody read it and then ask them that question.
Because you're right. You have to find out what is that.
There has a
most
kernel.
important to you and
It
closest to
has
your
to be a
heart.
kernel in there.
Yeah.
And it was very well. It's an image. It's totally, colorful and lively. Yeah.
And so what's coming for you next? Do you have anything? You doing another book, or you're focusing on getting this one made into a film?
I am focusing on what's going on in Hollywood.
Yeah.
I want this movie made in big way, because this woman is absolutely wonderful. She's just absolutely wonderful, and she deserves this blockbuster movie that, frankly, I think would be an Academy Award for any woman who wants to play the role.
Yeah.
I want to also extend, Dominique has been my partner in crime, and it took an awful lot of finagling to get him to, because he told me initially when we first met, I am never going to work on a Krystyna project with you, never.
So he was wrong, wasn't he?
Yeah, it took about 7 years to get him to change his mind on that. So it's been a long road.
Well done. So there's lots of tenacity on your part as well.
Oh God, I never take the word no.
Yeah,
I never do.
Well, it sounds like that she didn't either, and that's part of it, right? It's never giving up. It's just going for it. So I wanted to ask you how your children are now. I know that's not really to do with the memoir, but I'm just curious.
Well, I sent you to those 2 chapters because I wanted to say, okay, just so that you know, this is rather something different. They're all doing very, very well.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah. So it's been a very plus kind of a thing. Yeah, very positive.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to add? Is there anything you can think of?
Well, I will say, this mothering thing, when you have 4 chronically ill children.
This mothering thing,
it was nothing I was wanting to do. It was not where I was thinking my life was going to go, but it turned out that I needed to learn lessons. And I was extremely, once again, this is the Krystyna thing that was going on in the background. I showed my daughter, who was dealing with OCD, and she didn't know, her brain was, she was 13 years. And that's a very hard life for any 13-year-old girl in particular, because the hormones are going every which way. And I showed her Man of La Mancha. And I said, the reason why I wanted to share this movie with you. I'm a very movie kind of a person, I guess. What can I do? Because I do reference this an awful lot, various movies throughout my book. And she turned to me, she said, tears were just streaming down her face. And she says, I see myself as Aldanza, and you see me as Dulcinea. And I said, perfect. Yeah. And she was doing a she was doing no. She was off in Brussels doing a Maymester, what they call Maymesters, 5 weeks, researching the EU. Okay. And this is one of her projects right before she graduated from college. Now, and she thought,
it's a little boat. You have to lift it up a bit so I can see it.
Sorry.
It's a windmill.
It's a windmill. And so this is our theme, Man of La Mancha, dealing with windmills all your life. And so this is what she brought me back from Brussels. Okay. It was Peter O'Toole that played the lead role.
Yes, but with those big blue eyes.
Yeah. So, it was the movie that captured Marlis's spirit, and she never let that go.
Very good.
She
Oops.
never let that go. So I'm going, there's something about the smothering thing that you have to think out of the box.
Yeah.
Totally think out of
And
the
I mean,
box.
4 children is a lot. I only have 1, so I commend you, because 4 is,
Yeah.
as a single mom, that is hard.
It is hard. It is really daunting, I must say. But I want to thank you very much. This has been awesome of you.
Thank you to you too.
If there's anything else I can share with you, I would gladly do it. I want everybody to read this book, but particularly the women who are too busy to read this book should read this book.
And I presume it's available on Amazon and all the normal channels where people can.
Right, you can get it
it's
at
an
my
ebook
publisher.
or a paperback.
Yes, it is a paperback. Paperback. Okay. It is on my publisher's website, Austin Macaulay. Okay, but you have to look at the United States version, the USA version of Austin Macaulay in order to find it, I think. Amazon, Barnes and Noble. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I'll put all the information up here as well so that people can see it.
I will also share with you that I've had people in France review my book, and a gal in South Africa. And I'm going, I'm on 3 continents. This is so cool.
You're global. Yay.
Yes,
well, congratulations. I will. Thank you so much. And I wish you the best of luck.
Oh, my heart. I thank you.
And
this is very nice of you. Sweet of you to do.
Yeah, thank you for being on the Memoir channel.
All right. Hang in there.